No. Okay, are we?
We're good.
We're
We're set. Yeah, I forgot to start the recording. So
Okay.
just started it.
All right, we're calling the meeting. We're first order of business is the secretary's report. That's the minutes of the September 12th meeting. Suki had one punctuation change or name change correction. And I had one suggestion on the section regarding the letter of intent for the energy efficiency project. Maybe I overread it, but I thought it might be good to clarify that the $15,000 that we have agreed to pay EMC is only in the event that we decide not to pursue the project. It's not an initial fee. So if we go ahead with the project, the $15,000 will be folded in. Yeah, that's my only comment. Anything else? If not, we have Tommy's already had made a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Okay. Adjustments to the agenda. I don't have any, and I don't know anything else to suggest. Okay. Comments? We'll just say that we've at the next note that the corporator meeting is on October 16th at 6 p.m. in this room. It's also in a hybrid format. As you may have read in the notes from the governance committee meeting, that there's quite a bit of discussion going on about the incorporator's role in governance of the library. And I would encourage input. We can have a discussion today when we come to especially after Steve gets here, but also input from incorporators who attend the meeting next 16th. I wonder if we should let them know in advance, be sure that there will be a discussion of the library governance structure, which includes the role authorities of the incorporators, and we solicit their suggestions or feedback on how they think as a incorporator, what they found useful, or they have questions. I think if we're going to be examining this, we should give the incorporators a chance for their input as well, and let them know in advance so they can, prepare their thoughts or input if they have any.
I just wanted to agree with you. When I looked at the corporator agenda, it just said role of corporators. I mean, that's the agenda item.
Yeah.
I think it says discussion of role of the corporator.
Okay.
It says the word discussion in the agenda. I can look for that.
Okay.
Okay, because I just saw it said role of corporators. So
Okay.
maybe
I'll check that. But so what I'll do, regardless of what the agenda says, I sent out an announcement, but I'm gonna send out a reminder, and in the reminder, I will say that, please look at this document as we wanna have a discussion,
Yeah.
So I will
Okay.
say that in my announcements, in the reminder.
because at the governance committee, we did raise the issue of possibly, discussing making changes to the corporators and modifications.
Right,
So
right.
I think they should really
Oh, yeah.
get a heads up.
Sure, and from the agenda, so you're saying you don't think that's enough of it?
I didn't think so.
Okay, sure.
Those
Then I will definitely point that out in my reminder that I'll be
repetition
sending.
is
Sure.
doesn't hurt. Leah?
And I was just gonna ask, will you be including the document of role of?
It is
corporator?
included, it's already in there.
So that's in that copy.
It is in the, yes.
Okay.
And that it's a lifetime appointment or that's it?
So that's, I also include the bylaws, which say that's,
Okay.
I'm not sure if the role of the corporator itself says it's lifetime, but the bylaws say that, so.
Okay. It probably should just be highlighted.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the items that
Sure.
are under discussion.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's, and it's a little bit, I mean, this is out of the, much of the agenda of the corporate, annual corporators meeting is set. So it follows pretty strictly. This is the new, unusual topic compared to last year's meeting, so I want to make sure that people are aware of it. Small housekeeping thing, I will start now. The next meeting of the trustees, according to my calculation, will be November 14th at 4:30. So with that. And those are well, I should mention as well that in terms of upcoming activities that the capital campaign committee will be meeting this Friday. As one of the things to discuss, discuss way forward and gather our thoughts together about how to go forward. As those of you remember from the presentation we had last time from EMC, there's some interesting potential financing options, which the finance committee will be looking at, but obviously the capital campaign committee will be a major player in that as well. So just want to let you know there's some movement on that. Those are my comments. We can move now to the librarian's report.
Okay,
And Leslie, why don't you take it over, and then I see Elizabeth is making a presentation.
yeah, so what, we talked about that I wanted to start inviting staff to board meetings to talk about very specific things. And this month, Elizabeth and I talked about her coming and talking about the technology, education and offerings and support that we offer for our patrons. And so she's gonna talk about that now. I'm just gonna hand it out for you. Because we do quite a lot, and so I think it's just a nice reminder, especially this great program we have called the Book a Librarian program, which Elizabeth is now meeting with those patrons. And so anyway, I'll let her tell you a little more about it.
And this is very timely for us because of the remote workers grant.
Mhm.
You know, we're really focusing in on what we offer now, what we will be offering. And because they're gonna require quarterly reports to report back, we'll really be watching these numbers closely. So this is perfect timing for me to talk about what we currently offer. Our Wi-Fi is a pretty robust Wi-Fi that we get, around 450 people a month that use it. They can use it in the building and also in the parking lot. In the morning when we come in, people out there. And also that lovely little patio behind the circulation desk, that was used heavily in the summertime, and so it's a lovely little outdoor office. We have 8 dedicated workstations that are used heavily downstairs. Leslie just replaced all of them.
Well, 4, the other 4 are, they're
In the
here,
works.
but they're in the
In the
works,
works, yeah.
yes, so technically, yes.
And they are connected to the printer. That's also a wireless printer, which is nice. People can come in and stuff on their phones and they don't have to get on a computer. They can print right from there. We have 4 Chromebooks, which I use all the time for Book a Librarian sessions because they're portable and we can move them anywhere in the library, find a quiet space and do a tutorial session with them. And those are also hooked up to the printer. So the average monthly use, these are of the 8 dedicated workstations, 725. On those workstations are internet access, of course, but also Microsoft Office Suite. And then the Chromebooks have the Google workstations. So people can, do whatever they need to do, spreadsheets, letters, resumes, all of those things, either, on a workstation or using a Chromebook. We have the carrels in the back that get used with people with laptops. The reading room is used quite a bit. I'm thinking about getting a counter for that room, just to see, because I think, with the remote work brand, I think just anything we can count, the better. But it feels to me like that room is pretty much at its capacity. Do you have that same sense?
Yeah, I would say since the pandemic, we've seen a huge increase in the numbers that use that room. Every time I walk through it, it's clear to me. And most people are not using it for reading the newspaper or magazine. They're pretty much set up with their own devices.
Which makes it harder for people who don't want to use a device. I mean, for sitting, or sometimes in the seating space, if you do want to pick a periodical or a newspaper, there's less space and less.
So, and that's something when we talk about, this ARPA and where we might want to create individual spaces. We're looking at all of that around the library, where the best places are. One of the things, I'm just gonna add one about the remote work, and I took a picture of it. I should have put it in my report. With the gentleman's consent, I took a picture of, he'd been coming every day for about a week. He'd bring in these 2 big bags. He would set up 2 monitors. He had like a whole station set up. So he's a lawyer. I asked him if he minded if I took a picture. He said no, and he was telling me he's a patent lawyer that needed was working with a client, although he's not from the area, but he's working with a client locally. So we had 2 monitors, big monitors, a laptop hooked up to it, and he had basically taken 2 of the tables outside the teen space and pushed them together and worked there for several days, for several hours at a time. And I had never seen that setup before. So we're really seeing people using the library much more heavily for this remote. So that was just one example.
Yeah, he was very appreciative.
He was, yeah. And because we had 5 of
So we
Yeah.
can send them a letter.
And I will say, coming from a library that had no quiet space, the reading room is just such a gem. It's so nice to have a place to direct people, to have a traditional use quiet space in a library. And then we have the small group room, the average monthly use around 80 people, and that, again, heavily used, small enclosed space. People can have interviews there. They can Zoom, they're calling them Zoom rooms, where you can go in and, because it's soundproof, no one can hear you. That's what we'll be adding to in some capacity with the remote worker, getting some pods, Zoom pods.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Then they won't have to be in the stack, hiding in the stack.
Pardon?
Then they won't have to be hiding in the stack.
Do you see people in the stacks too?
Often,
Okay.
yes.
I have
Sitting on the
occasion,
little
but I didn't
fighters.
realize how regularly.
Different place.
Right, because you're shelving, yeah, so you see them. I do see more people tucked away in places that are.
What kind of,
A question I had about your counts, are you also doing a count in the teen room? The I forgot what we call it. I apologize. The room we built for teens with the fireplace and the air conditioning and
Yeah, the team, that's it.
the teen room. Sorry, teen room versus children's section. And I asked that because while Josephine and her 2 best friends, Clara and Eden, go there at every opportunity to do their homework, Liv earlier and now Josephine work on projects that they would eventually like to develop outside of their academic work. So I'm wondering if you count usage there as well.
We can use the Chromebooks in there, they can use that, and they do have there's,
Large.
we don't have any desktops in there, and I don't think we have space for them.
But in terms, say, of someone, as this attorney came and brought his entire office, as a BYOD, bring your own device workspace, are you counting that in the usage?
Yeah.
Great.
We count, yeah, we do count, we count all wireless sessions as well. We do have a way to track all wireless.
Yeah.
I don't know how heavily that room gets used, but I know at least 3 preteen, 12-year-olds who can't wait for the opportunity to go do their homework there.
Love to hear that.
And then as far as training goes, we offer group instruction with a partnership with the National Digital Equity Center, which is based in Wiscasset. That's the local Maine affiliate. And they offer terrific group classes by Zoom. And they present the classes just as if we're sitting here. They're doing the classes online. People come in and a staff member is here just to facilitate. But what's great about those is bang for your buck, because you can get a few, about 10 people in at a time. And then they also establish a relationship with the staff person that's in here. So if they need follow-up individual work, that kind of feeds into our book of librarian program. But the NDEC is a great way for people to meet peers, and they offer an amazing array of classes, very basic, to others that are, developing your own WordPress website, or that, a business person might be interested in taking. So that's a great partnership, and I'm meeting actually with them tomorrow to set up our fall classes. The individual instruction is the Book of Librarian. Those are one-on-one sessions, and those are time intensive, labor intensive, but extremely gratifying. People can come in, they don't necessarily fit into a class. They've got an issue, usually it's with a device, and they can come in and meet with me for about an hour. A local businesswoman, we just set up a Venmo account so she can sell her books, so that was exciting. So those.
So is book librarian just with Elizabeth or with other staff too?
Right now, it's just with me,
Okay.
but I've talked to the reference team, because I think we can spread it out. And it'd be nice, because then when they come in and they see someone behind the desk, they'll have established a relationship with them. So we are gonna branch it out a little.
Okay.
Can I back up on the NDEC? I wasn't sure I totally understood. When you mentioned they were Zoom, but they're based here? So is it
They're
hybrid
here.
or only Zoom with one staff member?
That's a good question. The instructor is on the Zoom screen, no one else.
Oh, got it.
The people who are taking the classes are here.
Oh, I got it. Oh, okay. You mentioned before something about a pod, getting some kind of pod. Can you explain that? And also one other thing, just so that I understand what a Chromebook is. Is it like an iPad?
Yes, it's
Okay.
Google's version of an iPad.
Okay,
So it's portable, but it kind of looks like a laptop because
Okay.
it's Google. But, and the pods are enclosed workstations that will be wired. And they could be portable, so we could actually move them around. But you can fit like a small table and a chair in there.
oh, and is this part of the grant? Is the money for
This is
coming out of the
what,
grant?
yeah, this is the intent, to use some of the grant money to purchase a couple of those, so.
Hmm. Yeah,
Where can we put them?
yeah, that's.
We're
my next
working on
question.
that.
That was my next question.
So, yeah, I mean, they're all different sizes, and then more companies manufacturing them, so we'll be looking into them, but the prototype, or one I was looking, just the vision that I had was based on one that basically is the size of, so if you can imagine in the nonfiction stacks, we have carols that are back to back. It's basically the same footprint, but taller of two carols put together. So we could put one or two right in that back section and remove carols, so that the ones I've looked at, they roll, so you can lock wheels, but so they can differ, which I really like, something that's portable that can be moved around, as and they have different sizes. The ones I looked at, literally, they have a built-in bench and ledge with all the plugins you need, so you can have a Zoom meeting, you can plug in a laptop right there. There's ventilation, there's lighting, there's everything, and there's all different levels of, as far as how fancy or simple you want to get. But it's great for us, because
Yeah.
that's really what people want. They wanna come in, they need to have a Zoom meeting, they need to have an interview. We changed the policy of our group study room because we used to have it be more than one person in the room, but since the pandemic, the need has changed. So that we allow individuals to use it too, because it's the only private place we have. Over the summer and even in the fall, the community room has been our sort of overflow room for if somebody needed to have a Zoom meeting or something, and needed a space. So if this room wasn't in use, we've been using that as well. So just because we don't have enough space, so yeah.
And I see that if I'm looking at the trends about telehealth, if that goes forward, it's another case where you want privacy. So what I'm gonna call the cone of silence, for all of you who ever watched Get Smart, we seem to have now, we'll have portable cones of silence.
Right, so that's, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things about this ARPA grant, but I'm really excited about these individual spaces. It's
So we're competing with Sean Ireland.
No.
not really.
Because you have to pay to go to this space.
You have to pay.
They can afford that, or maybe don't realize that they want that. I can imagine someone coming in and using our space and then saying, hey,
And
I think we're compatible.
yeah, and I've talked with Anthony, who works for Union and Co. And I think the other thing is there is no guarantee with us that you're gonna get a spot when you're paying. You're gonna get a guarantee. So there's, they have offer things that we don't.
And I think that the library offers is looking at or can serve a different audience than Mandy and Sean would.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different market. To be blunt about it, it's a different market.
Right.
I agree.
So I don't
And the
think
international user. Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Do we have any data as to whether people who use the library to work are donors?
Ooh. We don't.
We have to know their names. That would be the only way. If I had a name, I could check, but without, a name of a patron, I have no way of knowing.
So I will say, this is kind of, I'm getting a little ahead of what we're talking about today, but we are looking into an app or some software called LiveCal that will allow patrons to register to use spaces, throughout throughout whatever buildings or whatever we've established, the group study room, these pods, the community room, and then we'll be able to better track who's using it, because we can require what information we ask for when they register. And from that, then we can turn that into useful information. Right now, we don't have a great way to capture that, but we will.
I don't remember the last time I had to do this, but when you use our Wi-Fi at the library, do we capture name and email address?
No, it's unsecure. They just have to click that they accept our,
Yeah.
because we're getting people from all over that are traveling through.
Yeah, I wonder if we would want to think about that for the future of capturing name and email address, that we say we're capturing it for our records, and oh, by the way, either we may come after you and invite you, and by the way, here's a link.
It's definitely something to think about.
We can find ways to get patrons to donate. I'm all for it, but it's not really common.
So, yeah, we are definitely, we are interested in capturing information on, that, so this is something that, another reason why we're interested in a different type of, software to manage our reservations.
Yeah. And then, and I apologize, I realize that you don't have this paper, because it's not a formal presentation, these are just some notes, but at the bottom, I put some trends. Library as launchpad, that's pretty much for remote workers and hybrid workers. Public health, there's a big push, for libraries, for people to use libraries to do telehealth, which is another use of those pods. Artificial intelligence coming up in libraries. What's exciting for us in that is that you can very easily create non-copyrighted content, which for librarians, we spend a lot of time trying to find non-copyrighted content that we use in our promotions or whatever. And I think patrons, this is gonna be a big deal for librarians, and it's exciting for this small window before the copyright lawyers figure it out.
Exactly.
We'll be ready. And also, a lot of our vendors are already using AI for collection development. So that's something that all of our staff is gonna have to know about. Virtual reality being used in career screening and also workforce immersive training. So people are already coming to the library to work on resumes and cover letters and all of those things, but increasingly, if it's a remote work, they might have to do some training here. And oftentimes they'll employ virtual reality. So that's something else we have to think about when we're getting these pods. Thinking about that. Smart speakers and virtual assistants, that would be using your phone to help bypassing our catalog, which not everybody will, but some people want to be able to use their phone to, find information. So that's all in the works now. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And that's fun stuff to think about.
Good.
Can I just say that, as I'm stacking, I'm often, Elizabeth is in the corner while I'm doing the things in the team room and doing that. And it's wonderful to watch. People have really, they really get a lot out of it. It's been a very nice collegial. She's very respectful of the clients and everything. She's done a very good job. It's been impressed. Yeah.
It sometimes does require a lot of patience too.
Yeah, it is, yeah. There's a lot of patience goes on in this library.
Yes, there is.
This is another place that takes a lot of patience. Joe, everywhere, code collection, correct, circulation.
All right, next, Leslie, we'll talk about the
Yeah, so I just wanted,
menus.
I wanted to continue our conversation because of if you remember the last board meeting, we started talking about this and then EMC had come in late, so we stopped the conversation and then they gave.
Yeah, trustee
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, we were talking about the, staff trustee relationship building. So, and I started talking about just some ideas that I had put, together for you all. And they were also in last month's board packet, in this month's board packet. But I also wanted to first say that the board shadowing, work shadowing has started. And I was just sort of curious for those, I know, Leah, I think that you three have done some. What was your, I know you had sent an email, but what was your experience?
It was great. It was fun. I was at the front desk at circulation. I always kind of wanted to get behind the desk and see what's going on back there. I was with Deb, who, she's been here forever, so it was nice to sort of get to know her better. Just kind of see what the systems are. I'm one of those people who always use interlibrary loan, and so I got to see how that, the books flow through that behind the front desk. And it was only an hour, but it went by really fast. It was great to kind of see kind of what people are asking when they're walking through the front door. It's the first face everyone sees, and so that's whether they need something from that circulation desk or not, they're always asking them first. So anyway, it was good. It was a positive.
Was there anything that surprised you? I'm just curious. Was there anything that or you didn't expect or?
No, I don't think so.
What about you? I just was curious.
Yeah, I went to technical services with Shannon and then Mary Ellen in interlibrary loan, because I wanted to get the backstory of when materials come in and it's very interesting and informative. I really enjoyed it. I, spent a little more time in there and really to see how it's all done. There's a lot of detail in both of those. I mean, with the cataloging, although it's not original, I was interested in the cataloging actually too. And how it's done now, whatever, because I remember cataloging a little more from way back. So it's really, it was very interesting. And now I've signed up to do reference because it seemed Laurel's name kept coming up often. Because after the did you do technical?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Today.
Oh, okay. So, and her name, because after things count, they go to reference, which I found interesting, or a couple questions I asked and say, oh, Laurel is the one. So now I'm going to say Laurel and I will think or two. And hopefully this is continuing in November, right? We're continuing, I mean, this doesn't end in October.
No, it
right?
doesn't,
just
yeah,
keeps
I mean,
going.
I think it just goes on and for as long
Okay,
as
good,
people
because
want it.
I, you know, I'm just
Oh.
starting and I want to.
Oh, well, good. So I'm surprised, she said, Peggy, you said the word original cataloging, which is great, I mean, that's something you probably learned from Shannon, what the difference is between what, you know.
Well, I knew original cataloging, I didn't know how most cataloging is done now, which isn't original.
Right, but how did you know original cataloging?
I go way back with library.
Okay, I didn't know that, I thought maybe that was something you learned.
I'm not a librarian, but I
Right,
do.
but most people don't know that, so I thought, wow, I mean, I'm surprised, she knows the lingo, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
Okay.
What about you,
Yeah,
Leah?
I mean, I was in technical services today, so I'd have to repeat the same thing. I just was amazed at how many steps. And I just found that reading the monthly reports, I didn't always appreciate exactly, especially Shannon's work. I really been seeing what she does and the steps and the perseverance about when she can't find information in the catalog and so just, and then same thing for the library, just lots of detail, lots of communication back and forth. So anyway, great appreciation of what goes on.
So have you felt that this is worthwhile then, or what, I mean, as far as?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't done it, I really.
I start tomorrow.
That's great.
How about the staff? Have they had any feedback from the staff?
I have not talked with any staff yet about.
Yeah, I've talked with, Mary Ellen and Shannon enjoyed it, and that one to me feels most like visiting Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because
Mhm.
they're just busy and
Yeah.
doing stuff. And especially Mary Ellen, I think is so good at explaining, you know, the inner workings of, she moves a lot of books and it's pretty sophisticated.
I was
Doing so many different libraries, so many different
Yes,
things.
and the whole system and
Right.
how many books she goes through in a week.
Right,
Yeah,
I know, so it's been good, on both sides, I'm happy about something. And a couple of great people have signed up for, children's department on Halloween.
Oh.
Great.
Costume.
Oh,
Wizard of Oz is the theme, we have a,
What is
set
it?
a theme, Wizard of Oz.
oh,
Okay.
Okay.
We're assigning roles and.
yeah, oh, that's right, parade or something.
Mhm. A little trick or treat parade.
It sounds like the shadowing's already up to a great start and doing all the thing we do.
Appreciate the time it takes.
Yeah.
We realize that's taking staff. time
Yeah.
to do
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
yeah, that's a good point, because I was thinking about that when I was with Shannon and Mary Ellen, they were talking to me, and thinking, they're doing all this and, yeah.
Leslie,
If-
now about the
Yeah, so the menu, so
menu, the
if you know, had a chance to look at it, I mean, I also wanna hear if there are things trustees wanna add, I mean, this is really your. Don't go ahead, Peggy.
One thing I was thinking, it would be helpful, I think, if you would let us know when a staff member is leaving. Because we might want to say goodbye to that member, like someone, like Amanda left recently.
Yeah,
I
okay,
happen to
so
know
that's
her,
good, that's
so-
good,
But
so yes, one of the other things I was thinking about is,
And also-
so I did put on there, on the, Google Drive, the staff list with their
Right.
emails,
Yes.
so you
Right.
have that now. What other kind of info, like, is it, I mean, in the monthly report, there's some milestones you'll see, is it helpful to know, like, when their anniversary date, like, you know, like, so that's the kind of stuff I wanna know, I could put a list of everybody's hire dates, or is, I don't know if that's, or,
Well, if they get like, if it hits like 5 years,
Okay.
or something like that, I think that would be really.
so maybe we can keep, right,
That kind of landmark with some of the board is.
Yeah.
okay, like anniversary, like 5 year.
5 and 10
increment.
years.
Okay,
Staff-
perfect.
Staff recognition.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
like in
when
some
it is-
things, you'll also see in the monthly report, like when Shannon publishes a book, like sometimes they'll report things. So like 5 years, so if there's any specific information like that that we can provide,
You mentioned National Library Week and National Library Workers. When are those?
I will I know when National Library Week is, I don't,
One is in April.
it's in April, but I don't know if National Library Workers' Day follows
It's in the
in.
next week.
April 9th is National Library Workers' Day.
I know, is it that way or the other way? I thought it was before or after?
And then-
It
That's,
could be this week, that's.
What I suggested,
It's before, I think.
I mentioned, when we talked about this briefly at the last meeting, is maybe, have a small event for the staff celebrating both of these.
Mhm.
And invite the trustees, and personally, I'd be willing to contribute to supporting an event like that. But I think it's a prime time to acknowledge all the staff regardless of their tenure or activities. I mean, I'm just throwing that out.
The week is April 7th through the 13th, and the Workers' Day is April 9th.
Okay. So we could do, that'd be a logical time to do what I'd say.
So, right, so I can let you know, staff anniversaries, like 5-year anniversaries, you have their contact. I know Eileen, brought by a banana bread today, which was really nice, so we made sure the staff knew it was from you, and then to look at the card that
She
was.
didn't bring any for the trustees.
Yeah.
Behind that locked door.
So good, banana bread right now.
So I don't, we also have, we do have note cards that have the PFL logo. If you're interested in having some of those, we can get you those. They have envelope and folded, note cards. So if you want some of those, to write notes or an email, so you can, for staff, you can contact them at the library. I don't know if, as far as I used to arrange a staff holiday party around the Christmassy sort of December-y time, and then that's sort of been a hard one. And then the trustees took that over some years back and we would just have it at the library, and they would provide, like, cook 2 or 3, I think, Mary Ellen Casimir, Julie Rice, and Holly, they used to prepare food for the staff, and then we just sort of have a get together at the library. Holiday times are tricky because people are so busy, that if we do something, maybe we do just do it around National Library Workers Day.
Yeah.
So, and do something, but I really think, staff would appreciate some, like, right, if trustees wanna either make food or to be like a combo event.
Maybe
Get
off-site.
right,
Because we're
or-
here all the time.
Right, so, or, that's always tricky, but, too, where we have it, but having something where we have more trustees come, because with the last, it would just be a few trustees that really wasn't.
We could have something in January, like after the holiday.
We could,
New
right,
Year.
and that's
That's
fine
another-
too, we've done that, sort of like the winter blues kind of, event. What did we have, we used to do staff trivia nights, did we ever do that with trustee? That's a lot of. Set it up.
One time, the first time, I think Mary Ellen Casper did it. She was the one who ran it.
Or random, yeah. So some of these things are just sort of, like, they're time consuming for us to, so that, but if there are other ideas that any of you have,
What about the staff? Are there things they want to know about us? Or, I mean, have you asked the same question of the staff?
well, I think, so that's the thing I think the board would want, that would be like a staff survey thing, so that's.
No, I mean, like, we're just talking about it now.
Who was it,
Like,
Lori?
what do you mean, so,
Well, I mean, like, what do we want to know about the staff is what you're asking, like, when people leave, or does the staff want to know, what about the staff towards the board? Is there anything the staff members want to know about us? Do they want to know when a board member finishes their term so they can, or, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, they do
Just
know,
I'm just asking the reverse of what you're
Right.
asking us.
I mean, I haven't, been focusing on that side of it, or because I've been focused, this is based on the staff survey, which really talks about board engagement with staff, so I'm focusing on that
Right.
side of it.
But, yeah, but I can see it's really,
It
it's the
is,
same, in a way, it's the reverse direction, but the same general subject, right?
Yeah, yes,
right,
We tend to think of it.
right, it's that direction, and I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
there's any, that's what, yeah, the
Yeah.
same thing in the other direction, that's all.
mhm. We'll think about that, like what there's,
Yeah,
They wanna know.
it could also be something on the staff survey. I mean, the staff all do know when board members turn out, they see the nominating slate, because that goes out in the board packet, so they're aware of who's leaving, who's coming on, you know, they know those things. Yeah.
do they even, would they be interested in the, to the degree that trustees are comfortable with it? You know, a few lines about our own backgrounds. Saying, you know, some people have moved from elsewhere, some people are lifelong Mainers, some people are lifelong people in this area, where we went to school, we did. I mean, I'm not getting too,
Yeah, I'm
Right.
interested, like some people, I don't know everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, a five-line bio
I
or
mean,
something.
if everyone wanted to submit a bio, we could share that. I mean, we have the pictures of everyone,
Right.
so, yeah.
yeah, then they could put a story to the face,
Yeah.
yeah.
We could also take that one step and do bios on our website and rotate and feature trustees there with the picture. So I mean, I see a even more use of something, you know, to sort of get to know your trustees for the community with bios.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a note.
Rick's would be extremely long
Right.
and there'd be a lot of tawdry details. And that's like the focus.
Should have Brett Pitt's bio on our website. Redacted.
Well, thanks. Well, is that I think that's some useful in
Yes,
feedback.
yeah, I've made some notes.
Yeah.
And
With
if
the
anybody
Starry
comes up-
Night event too, we'll have an
Yeah.
opportunity to see a lot of staff where we haven't,
Mhm.
you know, had that type of holiday event in a while, you know, where probably they'll come to it.
Yeah.
And so, right, and I see they're wearing the name tags is great, just attending events for staff, you know, see.
Yeah.
And fundraising events, and
Yeah.
even just stuff, what I love about the shadowing is now you're meeting staff and talking with them, so, you know, maybe people, you know, feel more comfortable going around and saying hi when you're in and stopping in and waving to Shannon or somebody, you know, when you're in the building. And,
That sounds great. Probably should keep moving.
Yep, okay.
On to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as proposed? Rick, Peggy seconds, all in favor? Right? Accepted? Okay, now we won't ask for reports from anybody, just if there are any questions, first of all, on the individual reports listed. First of all, on the monthly staff report, are there any questions or points that people want to discuss?
Yeah, I had one sort of semi-trivial issue, but I noticed there was a comment about changing light bulbs, changing the old school light bulbs and needing ladders. Is the reason that you brought that up because you feel like there's a safety hazard that needs addressing?
No, the reason I brought it up was so that, so that the trustees can understand, sense the urgency to this building upgrade project, yeah. We've been doing this for a while, but it's
Yeah.
really, it's a critical
Okay.
part of the project, so it's why the
Okay.
project is.
That was gonna be my question I was gonna ask you, but that comment is directed for the big project. You're not advocating for doing a lighting upgrade in the meantime. You know, I thought, I was thinking about that this morning when Elizabeth and I were changing out probably 10 light bulbs, on ladders. I don't know, if it turns like this is gonna be it's gonna take longer to get going, Yeah.
then actually maybe
Okay.
separating that out, because it's
Mhm.
unsustainable.
Right.
Was it
And
about the
also-
priorities on the presentation?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
it is, but how long before they get to that, like, Yes, it has to be done either way, and when I called Gilman, our provides our bulbs, they're phasing out these bulbs, in the next like year and a half, like we won't be able to, we have to do it.
Oh,
It's like becoming like we don't have choice,
And you
so
can't use LEDs
it's
with
we can't, no, not with the
the
current.
ones.
We've
You're not
already done,
replacing
we've
them.
converted everything to LED without changing out fixtures now.
Oh, so they're already LEDs.
There are LEDs throughout the building, we just can't do any more.
So you shouldn't have to change too often, right?
Oh,
with
yes,
LEDs?
we
All the
do.
time.
Really?
Because all the recessed, when you walk down the hall, all of that is incandescent, they're not LEDs, because the fixtures don't support LED.
Right.
We have,
Oh, okay.
we have hundreds of fixtures in the library that are not LED,
Okay,
because they
So-
can't be.
that's what you have to keep replacing.
Right, right, not for LEDs.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is.
Can I help you? What are you looking
Yeah.
for?
The environmental meeting.
Is that today or is that?
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Are you serious?
Um,
Yeah, it's Wednesday night, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so, yeah, so either way, so, yeah, so it's really about the importance of this project. However, we
Okay.
have to address it either way.
Okay, all right, so I had sort of the same questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
so one question.
Yeah.
On the teen pantry program, is there a list of things that they need for that?
On
I
the
mean,
website, is there?
Maybe on our website?
Is it on the website?
I believe so, but I can.
And I can tell you mostly what we need now are like snacks. It's because that's the thing that goes really quickly, are like, either bags of goldfish or gummy, or granola bars or things, those kinds of things get taken right away. So it's these individually wrapped snacks.
Right.
I know that's one of our biggest needs.
The food bank is helping with that though. Is that coordinated a bit?
Are we getting stuff from the food bank still, Samantha?
Yeah, she's still picking those up, and I
Yeah.
think that's what she's using for the toiletry baskets in all the bathrooms
Okay.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of toiletries from them.
Where is it on the website?
I'm gonna have to look and
Teams,
see
would it be
where.
under teams?
Yeah, I'm not sure where, I'll have to look and see where that, but I do know, we've talked about it, I know those are the things that we.
Might be willing to bring stuff like you in the thing.
Right.
Put it, or if there's a private faucet by the door, you can say, this is what we need, so put it right on
I
there.
think she does do that, I think there is signage, because we're getting people dropping off clothes and things we don't need.
Okay.
So I think the signs of the entrance say what we do need.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, there is a
Is it fine?
basket,
Yeah.
a sign, and there's also we have just a general, at the other entrance, the children's entrance, because we've had so much stuff that we put out a shelf with things there for people to take.
And we're bringing, I think Hannah's doing a once a month drop off at the Y. So we have a sponsored table there where we're taking extra items, bringing it over there, and then they're putting it out with a sign that says from Pet and Free Library.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We've got, the response has been pretty
Yeah.
tremendous, so we're getting a lot of things that overflow. Things that-
good.
Has the compressor, I don't know if this is building or.
Yeah.
Is that, what's the status? of-
Where the part is in, but they have to engage a crane, and so they are, yeah, it's the crane, and I'm still waiting to hear back. I called.
Parked me in our parking lot right now.
So that's the part. So the part is in, and I am on it, but I have not gone back with the date yet.
So meanwhile, how hot is it in the?
It's where, the hottest place is in the upstairs offices for Elizabeth and Hannah work.
Yeah,
Because of the server.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter what the temperature is outside, the server heats up the space, so you can't control. And we have I bought a more high-powered fan, and we have so we have 2 fans in there now. The history room is not so bad, and I bought a second dehumidifier for the history room, so now it's just a matter of getting the crane so they can get it done, so, yeah.
all right, on to building and technology. Go ahead, Steve. Welcome. I had one question, and I don't remember the record, but there was a sentence in the report that said, it talked about overlap between park renewal project and the HVAC upgrade. And wasn't sure what they referred to because it's the HVAC upgrade, at least the latest version being considered is all on the roof. And it wouldn't involve the real estate.
Yeah, I think what she mean, and Karen Roberts wrote this report is that, for example, when they're doing the roof upgrades, they're gonna be pulling gravel off the roof
Right.
into, so it's actually just machinery that's on the ground.
Okay,
So that's all that is.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
I had a question about, when we talked about the finance committee summary, tell me that, about the capital reserve fund, was that all resolved? Cause,
What issue are you referring
it
to?
was, about how they could use the money from the capital reserve fund. There's a question about how that was set up and whether, it what it could and could not be used for. The capital reserve fund, was that part of the discussion? That was, I don't know if that, whether you weren't, you weren't that meeting.
Is that, well, it does say restricted
Right.
on the.
Well, there were, that whole thing with the CDs, those were restricted gifts. Well, that wasn't a capital reserve thing, those were just restricted
Right.
gifts, so those can only be used for what the donor
Right.
asked.
Right.
And with the capital reserve, I don't think the board decides what we use capital reserves for, so it's,
Right.
I don't think there was anything that came out of the finance committee meeting. I mean,
I was just reading the notes, so the one thing I don't know if you mean, Suki, is about CDs, because was it the CDs you were referring to, that excess for the capital reserve, or?
It was, well, it hit me because Roger was the one who said it.
Right.
Was the chair of the finance committee, and I asked him, and he said it was set up as an ongoing committee to use the profits to be put into the capital reserve fund to be used for projects, not for ongoing expenses, but for projects, and that's what he just wanted to make sure that.
Oh, nothing has changed.
That was still, yeah.
That is still how it works.
Yeah.
It has to be voted by the board to use,
Right.
and it's not for operating, it's for, yes.
I think.
So Roger, you can assure Roger that we are still using the fund the way.
So it's the statement where it's the accrued interest from the previous CDs goes to capital reserve.
And that was just something we just decided to do, and
Yes.
And we all voted on
You
it.
know, because the interest is
Yeah.
not restricted.
the went to restricted and.
That's not restricted, yeah. But, yeah.
Okay. We have friends over there. Just let you know that there needs a new president starting next year, and governance. Steve, we talked a little bit about governance before you arrived, but, and we talked about some of the items that, I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on any of the topics that were discussed on in the governance committee about the corporators and ideas about what, things that were tossed around, and that we'll bring up and give the opportunity for the corporators to talk about, next week.
I think that would, as I look around the table, pretty much everybody was at that governance meeting.
I was not.
Well, you were, yeah. I think, the only thing I would just note is that, just to, not to make it a surprise at the annual meeting for those trustees who weren't there, that we hope to have a creative, and enthusiastic discussion among, attendees, regarding I think, what was the consensus of the governance committee, that we have to take a close look at the composition and the function of the corporators, and not, at least at this point, not with the intention of limiting their function or their participation, but to try to re-energize it and to refocus it and re-energize them. Maybe give them a job to do a creative part of the governance.
Yeah.
So don't, trust you, if you're at the meeting, you'll be surprised that comment's gonna come up.
Yeah.
What we're missing here, unfortunately, is, and maybe, Suki, was around, and certainly some of the corporators were around. There were, at the time of, the upheaval over the children's room, director, and whether or not the trustees were doing an adequate job in moving, the library forward. There was a lot of conversation that the corporators really were that leveling kind of influence, providing oversight.
With the corporators, who sort of kept it going in a productive, turn it into a productive.
Yeah, so,
conversation.
right, so we wouldn't, at least from my perspective, we wouldn't like this conversation to be understood as, again, as an effort to kind of rein in the corporators or limit their participation. We just felt, I think as a committee, the consensus was we felt, well, we needed to get more out of the corporators. And we need to engage them and figure out what that is. So
Okay.
we kind of, we set off on a couple of different tracks, but I think the committee seemed to come back to the corporators as key to a lot of the things that we would like to do. So we're looking at the role of trustees.
Yeah, before you run, Steve, we talked about that early on, and we want to be sure that the corporators attending next week are aware of this subject. Leslie included the current information in the packet, that there'll be a reminder, drawing your attention to the fact that this will be a topic, and then look forward, encourage them to think it over and provide their input.
I mean, there's a little bit of an issue in that, the way the bylaws are written, the corporators actually, they're deciding force on everything. Which can be a limiting factor in affecting the flexibility of the library.
Exactly.
This is the tail wagging the dog.
Well, the tail's not wagging and the dog's not doing anything.
Steve,
Well, we didn't want to be, we don't want to be understood to say, well, you guys are above us. And there was, the corporators kind of sit above the trustees on the pyramid. And it's kind of, this isn't a palace coup that we're trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get them to think about what their role is. How we can. And how we can do it.
yeah. Steve, are you going to, lead the discussion? Facilitate the
Yes,
discussion?
I'll try to facilitate it at the beginning, but hopefully there's a lot of participation. I'll set the tone.
In the context of that discussion, does the trustees behave as audience to that conversation, apart from the facilitators? Since it is the corporators.
You're a corporator.
But you're corporators.
You're all
Okay,
corporators,
that's
yeah.
Yeah, no, well, not all, but.
Well, not all.
most, Yeah.
Okay.
You wear two hats.
Although I think it's gonna be very interesting to get the non-trustee corporations and see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the tenor is. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be,
Interesting to see how much participation you do get.
Yeah, how many people show up?
And-
Right, that's
Yeah.
the question, to see how many show up.
Yeah, but that's why I think it's important that they know ahead of time
Might inspire them to come.
that we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
have this, and we did talk about that before, but I just
Yeah.
think that's important.
Okay. Last, policy and personnel.
I think mostly the minutes speak to it. Steve, we were not very well attended, but Steve came and spoke about the role of the governance committee to explain because we're sort of paralleling and shifting some responsibilities, we want to make sure there's transparency with the policy and personnel committee. So I think that discussion may continue some more next month. We also review the unintended child policy, and that does not require a vote tonight, and I think we'll find a couple of wording changes and clarifications, particularly around, emergency pickups and responsibility of staff. So that was clarified, and that wording in the new policy will go up on the Google Drive.
It's there.
Yeah.
And good. Thank you.
One thing I noticed, and maybe this will be discussion at the next governance committee meeting, but, I know that the governance committee, we're now handling the nominations, but, I think you mentioned in the policy and personnel that the staff survey will probably continue and within policy and personnel. And I was thinking that maybe the director's evaluation, which you mentioned in your notes, might move to governance. Maybe that should or could stay in policy and personnel. And our focus in governance would be trustees and corporators. And that could be one distinction.
I don't know, what I mean.
I have to disagree there because it's the board's role, there is in the job description to evaluate the director. And because we have staff on the policy and personnel committee, it doesn't really work well. So I actually think it is, and what I've seen other governance committees, that is their role, that is their job. So I do see that as something that should stay with the governance committee.
And that's been discussed at the policy and personnel. I think it's the staff survey that, at least that
Yeah, I think the
right now,
staff
that
survey is
remains with, but that might be under discussion, but so that's why I've been sort of wanting to make sure we have a dialogue as we go
Right,
along,
right.
because this
Yeah.
requires some time and preparation, so
Right.
we want to make sure we're all of a sudden we have to function and do something quickly, or whatever governance has to
Yeah.
do it.
So that accounts for some of the wording in your report. They will use the word may and might
Yeah.
on some of
Right.
the authorities. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're still,
Yeah, I think some of it's still.
sure, but that's
And also I forgot to put in our next meeting, which we are November 6th.
November 6th?
Yes,
Okay.
we're, except for holidays, we're the first Monday of the month at 4 p.m.
Now, next would be the treasurer's report, but we don't have the treasurer.
Tommy's gonna give the report. I do have an endowment update.
I can try to fill in, yeah, do you have the new endowment number?
Yeah, so as of October 9th, the value of the endowment is $7,446,000. Okay, I'm just gonna say the number, 7,446,044.60. Easiest
And
way.
when last month, it was.
That's as of what date?
Yesterday.
That's the same as it was.
So if you look at the cash report,
We've drawn about half of the endowment draws for the year, 200,000.
Yeah, no, I know that, yeah.
And they have lost significant value from last year, just because of market going down, covering a little bit now, fortunately. Right. Also on the cash on hand, Leslie did establish that new CD that's earning 4% interest that has the restricted gifts in it. Total of 30,000 or so, right? 30,000.
Yeah.
We have 134,000 in capital reserves earmarked, so that's before the 4,000 for the air conditioner.
for the compressor, right?
And we have recently done the financial review discussion with Bill Brewer, and we'll have a report for the board next time. At the November meeting.
So what that means there, just to add, is that, because of the timing, we won't have the financial review for the corporators. We'll send that off after the meeting, because the finance committee needs to review it first, and we just got it last Thursday.
Is this an audit? Is that what it is?
No, we're doing a review, not a full audit. We're doing a financial review.
Do we do an audit?
Excuse me?
You do an audit?
We have, that's something the finance committee has discussed. We've done audits in the past, but, this year we're doing a review.
Okay.
We haven't done one for a while.
We haven't done one. I have to look.
It's about 3 times the cost, but.
Yeah, I didn't know that, yeah.
Time to time.
Yeah. I
One
mean,
of the, and one good news that came out of the review meeting is that we will have a surplus of around 42,000 from last year. So we'll have something to do with that.
But let me
It's a big return.
underscore that in a negative way. We're looking at a budget now, at least at the last time we looked at the budget, we had a deficit of about 100,000.
Yeah.
And I just want to reemphasize what Leslie mentions in her report, that we're seeing a decrease in the endowment draw of 5%, marking the first decline in over a decade.
Right.
And that might be something we want to raise at the corporators meeting, because we'll need to make a plea for contributions there too. And I think we need to bring it home to people, what we're looking at. This is not, and it, as well as all the towns that will be asking to make a contribution, it's important that they know what's going on. And it's being heavily influenced by the market. Frankly, I think the political instability is going to result in a further affect the market.
yeah.
So that might,
There was a stat that was interesting, that I thought would be pertinent to that discussion, which is, I don't remember where it was, but, about the cost to, the per dollar use of supporting this library compared to the
Yeah.
libraries that are paid with that municipal taxes, like it.
Oh, the per capita.
Yeah.
numbers. I have those.
Yeah, like, we're, it's not like we're out there throwing money around, like we're operating really tightly. And, if, when the towns say this is, we can't absorb this increase or whatever, that it's a pertinent point that we're actually being really careful with how we're budgeting and.
it's a bare bones budget
Bare bones.
with a increase really only in the hourly wage for the circulation staff.
And well, there's some other increases, like a COLA increase, and there's some
Yeah,
initiatives
but
that, I mean, but even so, it is a challenging year budget
But
wise.
the revenue declines are the real serious problem in the endowment draw being every single source of revenue is down a substantial amount.
Not every, well, not every.
Except for the.
Well, everything, a lot.
No, it starts. Samantha says she can raise 200.
No problem.
No pressure.
I do think, I'll just reiterate what I, said at the finance committee, that I do think we need to seriously look at our revenue sources. We rely heavily on municipal, we keep increasing, asking for more from the municipalities, and, we have not increased our endowment. I don't, we don't have huge donors, and I think this is long-term, this isn't a short-term solution, but I do feel like we need to look seriously, more than we have, at our revenue sources.
I will add to that too, because as I've, have Samantha's working on the annual report, and I was able to take the financials, what I have got from our financial review, and put that into a pie chart. But what that looks like, is for the fiscal year 22-23, the amount, total spending, the amount of revenue that we get from municipalities is decreasing. We used to get like 35-40%. We now get 30% of our budget from municipalities, not more. So when we were saying, when Peggy says we rely heavily, I don't know that heavily is the word that I would use to describe that. We're up to 48% of our budget comes from the endowment. 30 comes from municipalities, when the state average for per capita municipal support is over $30 and we get about 20. So I have to disagree there that we do not rely heavily on them. So we need to rely more on them, is my, even though we're a nonprofit, we still do perform all the same activities and services that municipal libraries perform, and more libraries have a nonprofit status and are still getting more from the municipalities. Just because we have that nonprofit status does not mean that we should be funded at the low levels that we are.
And the state library has a value calculator, which I
So
just
I-
loosely did, and we do $3 million in services for $1 million budget. So that's huge.
So
And I think that's it, that we need to, $3 million in services is what we offer, just on a loose, like I took our annual stats,
Okay.
plugged them into the value calculator that the state library does, and it said that our value is over 3 million. And what we offer in our books and our programs and all of that. And so I think we don't maybe say that enough to people, is that, for barely $20 a person, you're getting $3 million worth of services.
Yeah, so we don't market ourselves.
No,
I mean, that's-
yeah.
But what we are, we are a bargain, and we're to. Thank you.
I'm forgetting where it was, but could you update where we are about the salary review? Because that was part of.
So that's happened. So basically the salary review has happened, and now the finance committee, and you could speak on this too. We are taking a look at that, and then, our priority in this year's budget is to bridge that gap with some of the things that we've identified from the review.
So the current draft budget that we're working on has the results of that review reflected in the proposed budget. So it has like substantial increases in circulation, for example, and sort of
That's why we have that's why we're not nearly close to balancing the budget, is to figure out how we're gonna pay for that.
Yeah, I know, I would substantial increase. I think we're going from, what is it? $16.92 an hour to 17.
So it
Or
depends, yeah,
$2, wasn't it?
it depends. But again, this is nothing's in stone, no budget has been approved, so we don't actually know what the end
Right.
result's gonna be.
So-
We're looking at $1 to $2 more an hour.
I don't consider it a real substantial
Right.
increase, but we're basing it,
Compared to everything else.
But yeah, and maybe it's an 8% or 10% increase, so if we look at it
I
percent.
mean, I think our budget is a skinflint budget. I mean, and we're still facing it up.
Mhm.
Any more about developments, no?
I have some notes from Samantha, and she can elaborate on any of this if anyone has questions. Currently, the annual fund is at 20,638 plus 10,825 in pledges as of today. And then just a reminder to trustees that appeal letters need notes on them. So if you have not yet volunteered yourself to put notes on these letters, now is the time. And Samantha let me take them home, and look, I went home and bring them back, and that was really nice way to be able to chip away at them. So that's
All I ask
an
is to
idea.
keep them in order.
Yeah, I managed to do that, I think. The focus this year is on donors who have given over 500 and any donors that are stewarded. However, several stewards haven't responded to the request. So if anyone wants to put notes on appeals, whether you're stewarding them or not, contact Samantha, please. Samantha's going to email out a list to trustees, a list of donors, so that you can review and identify any you would like to steward or no longer want to steward. And this will also include businesses. I think Tommy had raised at the last meeting that maybe it was our development team meeting, but that whether businesses are stewarded, and many are not, is what Samantha's answer was. So that might be something to consider if anyone has a relationship to a business on the list. That'd be a great way to up that support for businesses. The John Patton Society event is Saturday, the 21st. You should all receive an invitation in the mail. It's gonna be at 4 o'clock in the reading room. That's a Saturday, by the way. There'll be snacks, also some bread from Solo Pane. And so if you haven't RSVP'd yet, please do. This will be the 20th anniversary of the JPS Society. So, the sign down the entryway has been updated to include all members that have provided the signed document with a commitment to the endowment or have already made a gift. And then there's an effort this year, as part of the development plan to help the Friends increase their membership by 10%. And part of that, Samantha's been working to have the Friends provide their membership list so that it's a little green light now, so that they can be sort of segmented, and emailed, as a group easily and quickly when needed. They'll also be able to send out minutes, meeting agendas, etc. And then the first email from that effort was sent to the Friends group today from Constant Contact, and they'll continue to do it that way. And there also is going to be, I think it's almost up and running, so we have to set up a membership form for credit card users that will be online. So that'll be the first time that that's been an option, and it's going to be rolled out soon. So moving right along with technology. And that's my list. Thank you, Samantha.
I just want to add one quick thing that I really want to commend Samantha for her work on this. So one of the things too, in the past, when the Friends would have a meeting, they would just send out the minutes to the people that attended the meeting. And this way now we're pushing out information to all of the Friends. So to people so this is to build engagement, to build membership. So we're really excited about this work. I see a lot of potential for growth. When the Friends can become more active and involved, when they know what's going on with the organization and want to get involved.
I just sent the first email today, we have 128 of the Friends have emails, so there's still like, I think about 40-ish that don't, but of those 128, 50% of them already opened that email. So I sent that to Marcia to let her know, but yeah.
How many Friends are corporators?
Oh, that would be a good one to look into. I can now run that because it's nice.
They do get asked every year. So I do give the corporator list Liz does, and when she does her Friends membership drive, she sends it to all corporators, including the ones that are not, but especially the ones.
I think having the online donation, the online membership form is gonna be big for them too, because right now you can write a check or you can pay cash. You could stop down at the library bookstore, but that limits you, to people who are right here. So now we'll have a form online so they can just quickly and easily do that way. So hopefully it's coming along. It's getting them into Little Green Light has been a big part, because often I will want to solicit them for donations and I have to get a list and I have to clean it. So this way they're in there and they're all separated out by whether they're family or individual. So I think this is going to open up a lot of opportunities for the Friends to communicate and hopefully grow.
I've heard with the Friends literature, when you're trying to recruit members, do they have some good description about what their role, what they do, and?
They have a brochure, but I know that Marcia's working on switching it to a wrap card. So right now we're kind of without stuff, but we do have some stuff that will be able to be given out about what they do, the book sales, the library bookstore, the things like that.
The night at the Pat, you mentioned the 16th of December.
Yep.
Is that gonna be like it used to be as a big fundraiser?
It's a fundraiser. I wouldn't say it's gonna be like the one before where it was like $50-75, but we are gonna have Judd Castle playing in the reading room. There'll be an interior luminary walk to carry on from outside. It'll go into that section of the building we won't use for the event. There will be food, and it'll be $20 and then $25 the night of, and free for kids. So that's where it's gonna be a little different, as we might have a bunch of kids running around.
And you're just auctioning off baskets or?
I don't think we're gonna do the baskets for this. We'll save them for the spelling bee, which we did last year, was good. I think this year we're just gonna have, it's not gonna be a huge fundraiser. It'll be a smaller one, and just try to get the people in the building more than anything. We will have, I think the ticket price will include a drink, like we're not gonna charge for the bar, things like that. I'm gonna try and really save the big push for the spelling bee and have this kind of be just a nicer, smaller night that you don't have to drop a lot of money on, but you can still come inside and have a good meal. Bissell Brothers and Bath Ale Works are both donating beer for the event. So that'll be great. And I'm gonna try to get I'm going to the Kit non-alcoholic beer tasting at the Now You're Cooking the night before the John Patton Society event. So I can, because I don't drink, so I can try it, but also so I can buy some for the event, but also so I can hit up the Kit person to see if they will donate some non-alcoholics for the event, so. You know, it'll be a mid-size, I don't know, we don't really know what to expect. Will people come from the Luminary Walk and come inside? Maybe, hopefully, people will probably buy ahead of time, so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I just thought it'd be a fun way to try to do something here, because we haven't since before COVID, since the murder mystery.
Right.
And then to also, you know, kind of capitalize on something that
That's what
Hannah
we've
has
already
done.
done,
Yeah,
right?
it's already
That's been
really
awesome.
successful, so. We'll see.
One thing I meant to mention, in the, development report in the packet, I think there was minutes from our last meeting. I think it mentioned that the Starry Night event, or Night of the Patent event, is for JPS members, which I think is wrong.
Oh, did it mention that? Okay, I'll make note of that, yep.
What's,
It was described as a
Yeah.
GPS.
Oh, I don't know
Okay,
this
so
either.
general public,
what's the, deadline for, the letters that need signatures?
well. It's gonna be like this week, but we're a little slow on that, so if we have to push it into getting them next week, yes, but they are dated October 2023, so they need to get out this month, and the longer we push it, the more we're harping on our donors, because I've got other follow-ups coming along, so I don't wanna push them too late, but, yeah, if you can do it, you know, before the end of next week, that would be great, you know. And, because Carl still needs to actually physically sign a bunch of letters too, so we gotta coordinate
I was
that.
gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, the 500+ ones, he needs to put his signature on, so when I get everybody back, then he can do that, so.
This was a new printer? that
Yeah,
you-
well, yes and no. So we used to use the copy shop in Wisconsin, and the copy shop has merged with Lincoln County Publishing up in Newcastle. I used a bunch when I was with United Way, and so I'm fairly familiar, but I also know Bobby really well from the copy shop, so kind of new, but you know, I think they did a wonderful job, and I think
The
it'll.
pre-stuffing.
Yeah, oh yeah, they pre-stuffed, oh my God, I don't know why I never thought of that before. So, yeah, it was great, they've been great, so.
Yes, please.
I don't remember if it was which development report this was in, but there was mention of, a decline in business support.
Yeah.
And I was just interested in, you know, what do you think accounts for it?
COVID. Yeah, it's been down since COVID. It's been down at every organization that was with during that time. Like it was because businesses closed, businesses were losing money, businesses don't have employees. So I think that's a lot of it. But I don't see that I think we can get it back. I think we're far enough out of COVID. People are bouncing back, but I think it's gonna be an all hands on deck to get them. I can only do so much, and businesses are hard to get a hold of, you know, like
Yeah.
email's great. Stopping in is great, but I don't have time for that, so it's like, you know, again, an all hands on deck, I think, to try to rope them back in.
Do the businesses on the Green Mile contribute at all?
Which
Cannabis.
yeah, we get Bath Cannabis gives us each year. I actually just ran into Alex, the owner, at Maine Maritime, and he said, I need to give you money, and I was like, yes, you do. But I have included bills in there, and I'm including them. They are supporters of Chocolate Church and Main Street Bath, so I think it's just getting the ask out there.
Right.
Yeah, why not? Their business.
Especially those who have multiple locations, Highbrow's in what,
Yeah,
3
exactly.
locations?
I mean, we've got, 14 bars downtown and 1 cannabis
Yeah.
shop, so it's not like we have a load of them, but
Oh,
yeah.
but all on the.
But on that little
I was thinking of the Great Green Mile.
Yeah.
And they're within like,
Bath is a city of cannabis.
but they're so
Still
close
far
to
less
one
than
another,
ours.
wondering how they all.
Oh, you ought to go to Waterville. My wife points out that you can't get coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning in downtown Waterville, but the cannabis shops are open.
Yeah.
Yeah, Woolwich.
They're medical, so it's
Yeah.
prescription.
Stretch and Woolwich, they're like.
Yeah, you should hit up the ones in Woolwich.
Oh, I should actually. I know the owner of the one of Farley's. I should have.
Farley's, and there's one other one right by there too.
Yeah,
There's 3 now, 4.
maybe we can have a special category for them. No, because then I'd have to have one for all the bars. So,
Are we getting any luck with coffee with these businesses?
we have Brackets is doing this.
Yeah,
Yep. Nobody from Cafe Creme has reached out. I've texted, I've messaged on Facebook, I've emailed, I've sent letters, nothing from them. So we're struggling a little just to get it, but I think we'll get it. I think we'll be fine.
Roger had a suggestion.
Oh, yeah.
He said that we should, all the board members should put in money, we should do the next month. If
Oh,
we end up not doing.
that's a good one. Just an idea for a month, even just
Yeah.
like maybe one that's a
Or
specific library
incorporators might-
related fund.
Incorporators might want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That's just-
yeah, he did mention that to me
It's-
last
It's
Friday.
a big, it's a plus for the staff, it really is, 'cause I'm there on Friday morning and I.
And the story time. Those parents come in from that Friday story time. Oh my gosh, are they excited? So, yeah, it's been great, and I think, it's a struggle to get it, but I think once we get a full year, full calendar in, then we can kind of go back each time and hit them up, so. Yeah, but Dunkin' Donuts was great to work with, and they said anytime, so we'll hit them up again,
Good.
yeah. But yeah, if you have any ideas, send them my way, Hannah and I are.
What about a rubber Joe?
I have reached out, I don't know if it's the same manager, because they used to do.
They've done it.
Yeah, they used to do a whole, they did it all the way from September to May
Oh,
for
wow.
2 years, but then COVID hit partway through, so. I have reached out to them to see if they would do a month, so I'm gonna keep on it, but yeah, if you guys have ideas, send them my way, and Hannah and I will keep doing it. But it's been going well, yes, so.
All right. Town area school activities. Anything you want to?
Is there anything in particular that you guys would like to hear about regarding the school? Want to bring back? Because it's on the agenda, but I really don't really know what to say.
What's happening with book ban?
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
have a new book challenge, that just came up. It's with the committee, because every time we have a book challenge, it has to go to a committee. Committee is formed that our, policies require certain membership on that committee. They review the book, they read the book, they review the book. They present a report back to the board. They'll do that at this month's school board meeting. And then the school board will make a decision on that. This book, this time I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is a book that is only in the teacher reference library. It's not available to students. The parent had, the same parent that challenged the book last year, and they had requested a list of materials from all of the school libraries, and this was a book that they saw on that list, chose, and decided to challenge.
Even though.
Only available to the faculty.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the book, it's in Woolwich Central School, is that correct?
Yes.
It's an elementary, we have a copy, it's an elementary book about, relationships and
And development. It's about puberty and development and relationships.
and it's geared towards the younger age.
And it's an older book too. I read it.
Yeah, they have a,
It's actually an older book, and it's not even like culturally current.
they have a new edition of it though,
Oh, they do?
of which we've ordered for the library. When I was talking to Mary about this challenge, and we were looking, because I went to the shelf to see our copy when I had heard about it, through Dawn Lee had let me know. And so they have a new, like a 10th anniversary edition, which is updated to be more,
Current.
more current, and it talks about, same-sex relationships and other things, and, so we have it on order, so, we'll soon have the new edition. Yeah, it is in the children's room where it circulates, but it's meant for, I don't know what, was it middle grade maybe? I'd have to see,
Yeah, I think
and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
It's recommended, I think, for as young as 9 or 10-year-olds, but if you look on like, is it Common Sense?
Common Sense Media.
Common Sense Media, they recommend a little, they tend to be conservative, but they recommend a little bit older, maybe closer to 12 years old.
So, yeah,
It's cartoons of anatomically correct images, but nothing. I don't know.
But you
You're like,
Form
nothing
your
that's
own
not
opinion.
on our body.
But you said that it's not available.
It's not available to students. It's a reference book that's available to staff.
Right, even though it's intended for.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, I was not clear. So it is a book intended for children.
Yeah.
but it's not,
Available to any.
but not available to children, only to adults.
At Woolwich Center School.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a question tangential to that, so I apologize. Do we get that we as board members, are we informed generally when there's a book challenge and how often? Second to that, how often a year are we having?
Yeah, so we do include that in the monthly report, but, you know, in a general way, I don't go into specifics.
Good.
So we've had, I think since I've been here, all of the years I've been here, we've had, in the 13 years I've been here, we've had 3 challenges.
Right.
Okay,
Very frequent, not even once a year.
Yeah.
But
that's
not- years
good.
of-
There, I mean, I don't want to encourage anybody to challenge books ever. But I'm pleased to see that we have a way of handling it.
And
Any-
actually, I just wanna interrupt what we're saying through, we do in our, we have a material selection policy, which is approved by the board, and it's in how the process works, as well as the form that patrons can fill out, is all in that policy, which, so it's on the Google Drive, it's also on our, website, so you can look at that and see, we have a very tight process for.
And I also had a question, and I apologize, it probably is tangential to the school report. Have we at the library had any instances of patrons behaving badly in a manner that we might find objectionable, or that other patrons might object to? Anybody walk in and say, you guys shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z, or you guys are doing X, Y, and Z? Anybody shown up and been unpleasant?
Once you've had people come in, but not necessarily over books, right? You had,
The First Amendment auditors.
Yeah, we had a First Amendment auditor
Okay,
come in recently, taking photos, but I'm not sure what you mean otherwise. I haven't had patrons come.
First
What's the
Amendment
First
auditor.
Amendment auditor?
Okay, wait, okay, so, so we had, this was a few weeks ago,
I don't
if you
think I was here.
remember. We redid the patron, the board approved a revised patron code of conduct, which
Yep.
includes a
Right.
statement about taking photographs because this came up, we had a big discussion
Take
about it.
photographs of,
In the library, well, it just was the general about, so the conversation started because libraries were noticing people were coming in, taking pictures in a public place, which they is their right. But we talked about what they couldn't do, which was take pictures of individuals without their consent.
Right.
So that's what the policy says. So the board approved that, and we have that new policy, and so a few weeks ago, we had a gentleman came in with a tripod and it was like obvious, he didn't just come in with a phone walking around, he had a tripod or like a metal stand with 2 phones on either end and was walking around like this. Well, I was at the circ desk and I saw him and I said something to him and I said, our policy is you can take pictures in the library, but you cannot take a picture of me without my consent. And he started going off about his First Amendment right, but he didn't take my picture. He did walk around the library. But it's interesting because one of the other staff members who works, a part-time reference staff who works at Patent Free and at Curtis, says the same person had gone to the Curtis Library and she recognized him.
mhm.
I did have a patron though, a patron come up to me and was upset by witnessing this. And I explained our policy and, his concern was that he didn't expect to see this in the library, but I also explained that, it is a public place and in the day and age of technology. His question to me was, how can you enforce whether someone's taking a picture of you? And I did say to him, well, how, in any space, people have phones, they have watch, they have all kinds of things that take pictures. How do we know in any place, in any public space that nobody's
so
taking a
this
picture?
person is a self-appointed First Amendment.
Yes, and he was very clear, he said, this is my First Amendment right, and he apparently goes around doing it.
Oh, so it's not
Which
private.
is
Is that part of a larger organization?
I have no
He didn't
idea.
say.
I have no
He didn't say
idea.
that it was.
He didn't say he was.
So he wanted to take pictures of patrons or what was his
He wanted to
intent?
get a rise out of us. He wanted us to give him a hard time.
Go to places
They
and
usually-
film
Right.
himself to.
He
be
wanted
combative.
a confrontation.
They walk into police stations and banks and.
Right, they do it everywhere, it's not just library.
Does it on Facebook.
Well, and-
He follows police officers around the Brunswick and Bath and.
That's so
spots and
boring.
areas to video them and challenge, try to get around them.
Right.
Okay.
To bother them while they try to do their job.
Yeah.
Um,
So the reason for my question was that, and I remember discussing this policy, and I think you used it exactly the correct way, right? It's not gonna, you can't nail it to everybody, but it gives you a tool, which you didn't previously have.
right, that's right, and that was helpful for me to say, this is our policy.
Yeah. We're cognizant at city council of some of our surrounding communities that have had people call up and be mean or come into their meetings and not be nice. We're trying to inform ourselves a little bit about the experiences of others, Hallowell, Bangor, Portland,
Okay.
as we decide how we might want to proceed at a municipal level. Which may be, come be mean to us, we're grown-ups. But it's a discussion we need to have amongst the group. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting.
You know, a collateral issue to that, Leslie, is that it is important that people be aware of what areas of the library are public and what are private. Make sure that the signs to the office areas, the work areas that the public is not welcome to be in, those should be marked.
Right, we generally do,
And I
yeah.
think here, yeah, but that is one of the solutions that people have offered up before these First Amendment auditor type.
So they don't go into, gotcha.
Because that makes it crystal clear. Like, there was a major incident in the Brunswick Town Hall, I believe, a few months ago, that they solved it by, or whatever, among other things, they just put up signs on doors.
Public meeting now.
Ready. Well, moving on to old business. We've got a lot of pending topics, things going on, discussed for the upcoming, but is there anything else people wanted to bring up? I don't have anything. All right. New business, last but not least, if anybody's got anything.
Well, I have a question, I don't know where it belongs on the agenda, but Suki told me this is her last meeting.
No, Leslie says I have until December.
Okay.
It's not like a year. We clarified.
But what is the next, what's next in the cycle?
So it's fine.
2024, I mean, that's right.
Right, so, and that's something we've talked about at governance, we think a couple meetings ago, the fact that, or the idea that the town rep doesn't coincide with the corporator meeting. One of the reasons is that elections for new select board members don't happen until November. So it's really, the cycle is, it's off, it's not.
Yeah.
So she's not actually, until the end, so it's by, I have to look at my list, but it's by population, so the next is probably Georgetown again, I'm thinking.
Unless you go back to the top of the list. And it's
Which is
Bath.
smaller around Sick or Georgetown.
Well, it's Bath, it's the town, Bath is not included in
Yeah.
the town
Yeah.
rep,
Yeah.
it's not, it's a Rouseck, Georgetown, Woolwich, and West Bath, I think it might be Georgetown, I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to start scouting that person.
Yeah, that was the trouble with this year, because they didn't realize the select board is all new and they didn't know basically what was going on. So I might figure out who it is and give them a heads up now so that they can start working on it.
So that's right, something,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Government, maybe, yeah.
It's,
Sorry,
it's,
My
that's
plan would be
been
not
discussed.
to alert anyone, wouldn't you just stay?
No, somebody you want to feature. Because I think one of the things, I mean, like, one of our representatives was Barbara Boyce, and she was there for a year, and then she got on board, and she was really helpful with the teen center. She did a lot of work on that.
Rob was on the board for a number of
Yeah,
years.
she was, yeah, so you can use, I think Mary Ellen has in the same way, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I'll check into that. That was before, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure about that, but there are other people who have done the same kind of thing, so you can get, and that's how you build in the community, your connection.
Steve got on as RSU one rep. That's how you got to be involved with the Pathway Library.
I know.
There you go.
And now.
Okay, anything else?
Good.
If not,
No, I'm sorry. Here, I have my eyes.
Okay. If not, anything else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? All,
Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.
thank you, Brian.
One other, I don't know if you saw it, one other